talent. What a moment.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Yes,
quite
sir. Thank you.
exuberant.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We are also very eager to share our work to you. Like, can I share my screen, sir?
Please go ahead.
Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Nitin.
Yes, it's
Okay,
visible. Please
guys.
go ahead.
Okay, Swaz, can you start from here?
Yeah, sure, Nitin. So, good evening to everyone, to Kekisa, to Patavisa, and all my fellow teammates, and wish you a very happy Diwali to begin with. So, I like to start with my presentation. So, Nitin, can you go to the next slide? So, yeah. So, before starting our presentation, so I'd just like to tell you the agenda that we have conducted for this presentation is we'll start with our journey. Uh, and without the Postman project, the goals, whatever the deliverable we have to the customer, the prototype, our approach, whatever the technological stack we have with us, the key highlights of the project, the demo and the walkthrough, and the small team that we have together. So we are hoping to finish this project, this presentation by 30 to 40 minutes. So let's go. So to begin our journey, I'll just like to go a little informal here and tell my journey because it's the feeling and the expression of all of us combined in here. We started our journey on 20th August and we got in, we started working and we thought, oh my, 1 month of training to get into a company. We started with like that. So that was our hope. So what will be there? How why this much time is required? We started with everything and we came into the picture and then we understood like, oh, we have to learn so many things to before to get in. And we started working with Python. We got with many, we got with Abhishek sir, we got with Shashank sir, we talked to KK sir, he inspired us. Shashank sir started teaching us in a very well mannered fashion, and from there our journey began. So we started with the OOPS concept, the data structure, what is the ORM, and slowly we started gathering the knowledge from the day one and we began our journey. We started with the basics of Python and we came into the picture. Slowly we got in and we didn't know only 3 weeks were done for the training. We were quite enjoying it. We were having trouble also in between, like, oh man, so much hard work we have to do. When we will enjoy. So that was the both situation were going on. And then we began with the project of search engine before giving our main assessment, and we enjoyed. We really enjoyed. Like we in the beginning we felt like it's too much. Like who will do microservices? It's so easy to write in one page. Then we understood its real meaning. We came into our second project uh, where we got into the Posmo with ML training. It was quite fun what we had till now. Really. Nitin, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So our journey highlights like what we have learned in these past 2 months. Like we learned with the Python, we developed based on the Python, we developed a small search engine project for our local system. We got to know what is web scraping. We learned what is NumPy, pandas, machine learning. The best part, for all four, I can tell the Flask APIs, what we learned, what we implemented, the learning phase, from the learning phase till the implementing phase, till the release phase. It was so fun. We enjoyed, we learned so much. The Matplotlib, Seaborn for visualization, PyCaret TensorFlow for prediction, and finally this presentation that we are here today. Yeah, Nitin, next slide. Yes. So this is the first project that we came into that was search engine, and we had five main module that we wanted to implement in the beginning. So there were actually nine, but we were due to the time restriction, we importantly had to implement these 5 modules, and the rest were optional but yet to be implemented. So we had to, what the search engine project was actually, give it out the brief, the problem statement. In the first level, we have to detect each and every drive that our local system is having. Next, we have to accept the file name that the user is giving, and it has to pick to the particular drive for which they are searching. Slowly, then that was single threading, and from there we have to implement to the multiple threads. And from there we have to view the matches for each and everything. So in the next phase, we have to store each and everything data into the database, and we have to store the database in PostgreSQL. We were doing in SQLite 3, but it was upgraded to PostgreSQL. And then the next phase came where we have to implement the error logger. And the next phase where we have to make the transition module, where you have to search in the database first if the path is available. If the path is not available, you have to search in the local system. So this was a small problem statement given to us. And Nitin, next slide. Yeah. So this is the flight structure for this and the code snippet that we have. So further, my teammate would like to explain this.
Uh, so as is introduced about that problem statement of search engine with the database. This is a folder structure of that project. So we have implement controllers, drivers, exception, repositories, searching, UI, different modules in this project. So this is a in this application, main and testing to different main packages. So testing package we have in this testing we have implement unit testing, and in the main it has all contains all the modules which is required to run the applications and all. So in controller package, this package is responsible to uh, co- collect all that uh, controlling to the app controlling process to the application, and that this driver models is containing all the root of modules that sometimes we are in this application we are finding that how many drives present in the system, and then choose drive this different modules different operation we are doing on drive, so that all operation modules is present in this package. In exception we have implement different exception, user defined exception like valid username, valid email id, and a valid system drive and all. Repository, this repository package is totally responsible for the database. We have implement this in this project we have implemented database also. For that we have used PostgreSQL. So in the repository package we have interfacing with our database, inserting some results in the database. Also we are taking a previous history result in from that all modules we have implement created in this repository package. That searching, in this searching package we have implement multi-threading, single threading. So this is project works single threading as well as multi-threading. So after that UI package, in this UI package we have implement user interface. So all the user interfaces like taking the user input file name, like a user choice to select the drive, that user choice to which features user wants to execute, all these that operations we have implemented in this UI packages. um, Go to the next slide. Next slide, it take over to my teammate.
Yeah, thank you, Weber, for giving the brief about the search engine. So, after the search engine project, we started working on ML. Python ML, which was completely new to our few teammates, and some of them have the beginning knowledge of that. But with the training, we started implementing the case studies, which was given to us to to grab a hands-on on the ML. So the first case studies which we got was with the iris flower data set. And in this data set we had the petal length, sepal length, and the widths we had, and different species we had. So we were given instruction to just to apply the pandas, and to apply the models in it, logistic regression and everything, so that we can come up with a accurate or accurate accurate result. So how to find the best output. So can you move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So these were all the levels we needed to cross in this particular case study. So we first of all we use the pandas. So to get the data frame, to get the data into the data frame, and then getting the rows, then how many rows are there, how many columns are there, and the type of the data we are processing, and then we what type of file we are having, and how we'll be implementing it. And then we have the sklearn to print the keys and the descriptions, and the observation and the missing values. If the data contains the null values, then how can we remove that the null values, and how can we find the missing values. So with all these, we with the help of all the trainings we got, we were and all the knowledge we gained, we were instructed to implement this data case. So what we did over here, please move to the next slide. Yeah. So we were also having this matplotlib. So with the help of the models, matplotlib, and the test, and the training, and the test data, and the predictions, so all the knowledge we got, what we did is that first of all we use that model from the sklearn linear model. Here it's written the logistic regression, but before that we got the test train split. So for in that, what happens here, you can see that we are having the X train and the Y train. So X train and the Y train, and the X uh, we are also having the X test and the Y test, and which will be getting by the test uh, sorry train test split. And in that, we are going to give the size, like you want a 20% of the test data, you want the 70% of the train data, and on that you want to make the prediction. So for making the prediction, we use the train data. So we are over here, we got the X train and the Y train data, and then we applied on our logistic regression. So in the logistic regression, what we did is that we are just calling the logistic regression, and we are making an object, and then in that we are putting the X train and Y train data, and that we are making a prediction with the help of the X test. With the X test, we are getting the Y prediction, and with the Y prediction, you can see that we are getting the all the values into the arrays. And in the same, we are using this X test and the Y prediction, as you can see, as a confusion matrix, and for the accuracy scores, so that the best result can be can be shown. So we are all we are having here this heat maps. So what does the heat map? You can see the sepal length is there, the petal width is there. So in this, whatever is matching columns with the columns, or the variables matching with the variables, so there will be the values are one. And whatever the possible here, which is comparison between them, so it's having a different color. And the map is the ocean one. So as you can see, you can relate with the colors, and you can find the best result out of this. So okay. So with all this mix up, we just learn to make the we to process our data into the prediction to get the best output. So this was our first case study which we implemented. The next will be shared by my teammate. So Next slide. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Swati. With the continuation to the machine learning journey, we have implemented another case study, which is called crash survival case study. So the data set we have used in this case study is like similar to the Titanic data set, which we can found in the Kaggle. So, but there is a difference between like our normal machine learning techniques and the, and this case study. This case study is quite different and new to us as well. And here in this case study, we have 5 levels to clear. And these 5 levels includes from the understanding the data set and the data pre-processing steps. And unlike the implementing the general machine learning algorithms, we have been exposed to learn about the PyCaret library. So what? So at the time we have listened about this case study, what we have the doubt called what is PyCaret library, and we have learned in the training, and we have implemented this case study successfully. And the PyCaret is a open source low-code machine learning library in the Python that allows you to go from preparing your data to the deploying your model within less time. Like if you take in general, if you follow the general steps, it will take more time. But by using the PyCaret library, we can do the things from like data from pre-processing to the deploying. We can do it in some minutes. So in the levels, we are in the first level, we are going to understand the data set. Like it's a Titanic data set. We are on the target variable here. We have is the survived or not. Like we will have the either 0 or 1, which is 0 will be replaced the replicates the non-survived, and 1 will replicates the survived one. So this is the target variable we have. And in the level 2, we are going to do some pre-processing steps like dropping the columns and filling the null values like that. And coming to the level 3, we have taken the PyCaret library and we install the PyCaret library, and we set up the classification module. So here in the classification module, what happens is like whatever the algorithms that are present in the classification, that all will perform the will be used for our data set. And the performance metrics like accuracy score and precision values or some other things will be appeared by using this module. And this we can see the comparison between the algorithms of the classification for our data set. Then we can know that which model is giving you the higher accuracy, and then we can take that model and we can perform we can use that algorithm for our model. Then we also plot the model and set the findings, and we have plotted the confusion matrix, and we have predicted the results as well. And then also we have saved the model, and this saved model can be used for the deploying directly. And so these are some of the code snippets that I would like to explain with the case study that we have done. So here we can see that comparing models as I said, we have taken the classification model. We have set up the classification module. We have the classification algorithms like logistic regression, gradient boosting classifier, edge classifier. Like these are the machine learning algorithms for the classification. And these algorithms has performed their operation with the data set that we have provided, and they have given the values for the accuracy and AUC recall precision. And from these, by comparing those, we can find that logistic regression is giving us the better accuracy and better performance than other machine learning algorithms. Then we can select this particular machine learning algorithm for our data set. And also for the we have selected the logistic regression. We have plotted the ROC curve. So what is this ROC curve? ROC curve is drawn between the true positive rate and false positive rate. This ROC curve is built on the confusion matrix. In confusion matrix, we will have the true, false, and positive negative values. So based on these values, we can plot the ROC curves. So in the logistic regression, we have the sigmoid function, which will give you the values either 0 or 1 based on the threshold values. So these are those values that decides the logistic regression to decide the sigmoid function to segregate either 0 or 1. So this curve will give you the area under this curve will give you the best fit model for the data set. So we can also compare the other machine learning algorithms with the ROC. By plotting the ROC curve, we can calculate the area under the curve of the each algorithm, and we can find the which algorithm will have the higher area. Then we can find that algorithm is best suitable for our model. And so this is about the second case study, and go to Suhas.
Trial version.
Suhas.
Trial version.
Suhas, are you there?
Trial version.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Suhas.
Yeah. Yeah, Nitin, you can present.
Let's go ahead, Suhas.
Yeah. So yes, I'd like to talk about the final case study that we came across. That was to classify that given image that we take into the consideration if it's a cat and dog, and this we did using TensorFlow. Nitin, can we go to the next slide? Yes. What we did is we took under the three folders where we were given as test, train, and validation. So what we were told is we were given 1500 images for the cat and dog in the in the train data set, and we were given around 30% of that data into the test data set. That is around 500 to 600 photos for each cat and dog. So what needed to do is we needed to take this RGB content for the each and every JPG file, and we need to convert this into the point to the where TensorFlow can recognize this each and every photo. So what we did is we actually, instead of using pandas, what we did is we actually used OS command, and we took directly the folder path and all the data set into the Jupyter notebook what we had, and we started working with that. So what we did after that, we created a data generator where all this data, as I have told, there were three data set where train, test, and validation was there. For training the data, we took that particular folder for the training the data, and we implemented the training for the machine to train with the TensorFlow. Using that particular train data set. After that, what we did, we created the CNN model for each and every training data set what we had for the photos with the four layers, so that each and every bypass that is done after the each and every layer of the TensorFlow using Keras, the accuracy will increase gradually, so that whatever the result that we wanted will have the proper uh, classification at the end, that if it's a cat or a dog. uh, and at the end, what we needed to do is we needed to plot the accuracy and the validation score, where we needed to after recognizing that, but after giving the test data set into the machine, how much accuracy it is actually providing to us based on the value. Nitin, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So this is how we implemented. We actually use TensorBoard, which is actually very good in the UI phase. You can see that there are two data set that we have taken. So one with the orange epoch accuracy, where TensorFlow uses epoch. We had given 100 epochs for this data set to be implemented, and batch was 32. With this accuracy, we can see that the first what we started, the orange line is the first data set prediction, where we got around 88% of the accuracy. And when the test I'm sorry, the blue line is the first one, where the first training data set was given out, and the accuracy that we got was around 0.86, that is around 86% of the accuracy that we got. When the another run for the epoch was run, so we got around 93% of the accuracy. As I have told, we were implementing using epoch, and CNN model. So there were 4 layers of each and every prediction layer was calculating. So with each and every layer, the implementation was increasing its accuracy, and at the end of the final layer, we got the accuracy of 93% that the photo is cat or dog. As you can also see in the next image, that the validation that was being done, it also give us that validating that if the photo what we are gathering, what we have given, how it can be classified, like if it's cat or the dog, and whatever the loss of the you can see in the final image at the bottom, that how much inaccurate the validation loss was there, means how much inaccurate it was, like around sometimes it was around 30% inaccurate, sometimes it was around 60% inaccurate, that the result it was showing, if the image that we have given is cat or dog. So this was the small case study that we also came across in here. So let's jump into the another slide and let's see what my teammates has to say.
Yes, Vas, thank you. And coming to the our journey, like this is the thing that made us to feel very high, and we felt like we have done in the training, we have done some unimaginable things. We can say it as this is fun, because this is the project. Like it's like a real-time working project. We have done some features, and we have done creating APIs. So we have gone through like how the code will be there under a particular application, under a particular real-time application, how the code will be there, how it's going to work. So this one is the thing that made us to feel high, and that is Postmo platform. So this Postmo platform is the idea of ma'am Andy Cunningham, ma'am. So she's an American strategic marketing and communication entrepreneur. She worked with Steve Jobs, and she helped to launch the Apple Macintosh in 1984, and she is also one of the inspiration to us. Like so this Pasmo platform, we can say that so what is this Pasmo platform? Like we can say it like three words. It's Pasmo is for creating business identities, and Pasmo platform is for strategize positioning and branding, and Pasmo platform is to elevate the business values. So these are the main three things that comes under the Pasmo platform. So this is this whole Pasmo platform is the idea of the Andy Cunningham, and so these are the goals of these are the goals of the Pasmo, and these goals are like creating the 1,000 business identities, and to elevate the organizations to realize to it's double the profits of the organization, and to reach the brand of the organization by 5 times. So these are the very important goals of the Pasmo. So what we have done in this Pasmo project, in this great, we can say that in this great Pasmo project, we are very glad to be a part of this project, and we have done some things for this. So what are those? So we have implemented these 14 features, and we have created 14 APIs for that, and the bugs estimated as less than 5%. And in the next few slides, we are going to know about what are the features that we have done, and what are the APIs that we have done, we have created, and what work that this API is going to do. So before that, I would like to tell the team composed to do this. Like we have business analyst, and UX designers, and architects, and tech lead. These categorized people helped us to move further in this project, and made us to create some very beautiful things.
Okay, thank you,
Yes.
Nitin. From here, I will continue. So what is this project? So what's the very first thing we come across the project? It's the dashboard. So what it does? So what happening is that when you're doing a business, you have a clients. So you have to deal with your clients. You have a certain relationship with your clients or a project, which is called the engagement. So track of these clients and the clients having their stakeholders, so all these tracks you have to be maintained in such a way that it can be organized, and whenever you need certain information that can be easily be accessed. So what happening in this particular dashboard is that all the engagements with your client and all the clients and the interviews, the workshop being conducted, the events being planned, all the tracks are being maintained over here. So in the next slide, please, Nathan. Nathan.
Yes, Swati, wait. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so very first we have to do is to maintain our client's record. So over here in this, what's happening is that we are able to add the client and details of their it. So as you can see the name, category in the left side or in the right side, you can see the name, category of that client, the URL, the website URL we need of that client, the address we need, which country it belongs to, which state, which city, and the zip codes and the certain positioning statement we want. So all these details are being saved of this client, and also their engagements will be maintained over here. If the client is active or inactive, how many stakeholders it's having, and how big that client is, and what are the engagements are in progress and what are being closed, and what are the earlier or previous engagement you had and how good it was. So all the records are being maintained over here. So in the next slide, my teammate will explain about the stakeholders.
Thank you, Swati. So, for the particular client, we have the different more than one or more than one different stakeholders. So, in the stakeholder, there is a two type of stakeholder. That is, one is an external stakeholder, and another is a internal stakeholder. For the internal stakeholder, we are just taking the information at the time of creation new stakeholder. We are just taking information like a name, a stakeholder category, contact number, email id, and designation, and some information with a photo and all. So this many information we are required to create a new internal stakeholder. But there is another type of stakeholder, that is the external stakeholder. So in this external stakeholder, we are we at the time of creating external stakeholder, we want also their name, stakeholder category, contact number, email id, and also with company name, as well as their that stakeholder address means state, city, zip code, and all this information we want. We are taking all that information for the external stakeholder. Go to the next slide. This application is a responsive UIs. It has a responsive UI. So like for the mobile, for the mobile application device, there is a different kinds of resolution for different kinds of device. So that a mobile has a different resolution level, and a laptop has a different resolution. So our application, that for UI, that user interface, is adjust and responsive to the different kinds of resolutions for the mobile, for the laptop, and for a tablet also. Go to the next slide. Next slide will taken over by my team.
Yes, thank you, Vaibhav. So, as we were talking about the Cosmos, so I just introduced you about the dashboard, then the clients were introduced, and then the message architecture and the stakeholders, which Vaibhav told you. Now, that please move to the next slide. Yes, so the features we implemented. So in a very short time, we implemented add a client, get a client by ID, view client category, edit a client by ID, view a stakeholder by ID, view internal stakeholders by ID. As Vavo told that external internal stakeholders details are different. So we have to store them differently, and then if we have to access it, we have to use the ID. Then add new stakeholder to a client. Then we can edit the stakeholders, view all stakeholders for a client, view all stakeholders categories, as categories are different, so we need the particular categories, and view all stakeholder designation and what position they are holding, view all internal stakeholders, view all our clients. So these are the features that we all implemented in very few days, and the next will be showcased by our teammate, Project Overflow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Swati, for explaining all the features that we have. To develop any project, there should be a project workflow which is very necessary and which is very important to conduct and to implement the project very smoothly. So what we started with is we started by understanding what is the project is actually doing, what was an Andy Cunningham idea actually was, and what we were supposed to implement. So that only took us around 1.5 days, more than that, to understand what was the actual requirement that is really needed for the project and what we were supposed to implement it. Then came the documentation part, and for each and every requirement for the project was documented and it was showcased by the BA team to us, and what was actually necessary, what was the requirement of the client, and what was their really need for each and everything that has to be implemented. So then we made the architecture and the design that we actually need for this particular project, the plan what we conducted, we set up the environment for each and every module that we were supposed to create it. Then we started with our coding, the code quality was done, the bugs were fixed, and the final release was there, and here we are with the presentation. Yeah. So I like to give out the key highlights for this project that we have taken into consideration, which is the layered architecture that we have followed, that is the MVC architecture, and the object-oriented programming. And to build the APIs, you've taken the help of the Flask REST, and we have taken SQL Alchemy for the ORM operations for the database, and for the main database we have taken PostgreSQL and Git repository for integration and the modularity of the project to be built. And the project has been built, and the presentation. Can we move to the next slide?
Yes.
Here Nitin will explain what is the actual technological stack we have and how we have taken all this into consideration for the project.
Yes, thank you, Suhas. So here I'm going to explain the technologies that we, on the platforms that we have used so far in this project. So we have used the Visual Studio Code, VS Code for our codes, and we have we have used the GitLab for uploading the codes in the, we have uploaded in the GitLab, and we have used the PostgreSQL for as our database, and we have created so many we have created 19 tables. We have operated with those tables. In those tables we have association tables and master tables. We are very excited by learning those tables in the PostgreSQL, and we have this Swagger. This Swagger is the platform solution to support open API workflows at scale. This we have also used this Swagger to showcase our APIs, which we have done, and we have this SQL Alchemy. We have done some queries. We have created some queries through SQL Alchemy, and we are going to showcase these things as well. And we have created Flask APIs. We have created APIs by using the Flask, and it's been very wonderful journey so far by learning all these things. And we have gone through the this Postmo platform. We have the access to the platform of the Postmo. It's like a prototype, and we have gone through the its prototype, and we have learned so far. We have learned many things from the platform, and that made us to create that gave so much information as for information to create the APIs for the features which we have given to us. And the Python, from the day one we have started learning Python, and like we are now we can say that we are experts with the Python. We have used this Python programming language for the queries and APIs. For creating those things, we have used the Python, and this Postmo platform that we have run through the browsers. we can run through the Chrome browser or Mozilla Firefox or Internet Explorer. These things will support these browsers. And the folder structure. So this is the get to AHA folder structure. So this is like similar to the like we have planned in the search engine itself. We have created a similar folder structure like this. Like it was pre-planned. Like so as we created the search engine part, it is very easy for us to understand the folder structure of the get to AHA as well. So in this get to folder structure, we have the get to main folder. In the main folder, we have this manage.py file, and in the app we have the main. In the main, we'll have the controller folder, data repository, exceptions, model, and services. And this controller will have the APIs, and the model will have the on the model will have the database connected to the PostgreSQL, and the operations that we have done in the PostgreSQL tables that are written in the VS Code, and it is stored in the model folder and the service in the service folder. And these model and services are being connected to the controller file, and this controller will operate the by connecting to the model and service files. This controller will create the APIs and makes the work done. And in the util we will have the DTOs, and in the we also have the test for the unit testing. And after in the app we'll have the migrations and the utils files as well. And these models, so as I have set the folder structure, in each folder we have created some files, and these files we are going to explain in further slides, and this will be explained by my teammate.
Thank you, Nitin. So, model is the as you have heard that if you want to store any data and any data into our system or any data into the cloud, so data holds a very important part of any project. So data coming, going, and the transfer has to be maintained, and the new data has to be stored. So for that we create models. So in this project we are having two very important models, that is the client models and the stakeholder models. So in the client models we are storing all the data related to the client, and from the stakeholder models we are storing all the data related to the stakeholders. So let's come and see what's the client models are. So client models, first of all we are going to make a class, and then we are going to define the model. Like model basically is the table. So in this we are making a client, and then we are creating all the columns. Like see, you have to maintain the id should not be given by the user. You have to auto increment it. So those are the features that we are implementing. Like in the column we are deciding the type of that column, and if it's primary, it's important or not, it has a value or not. So all these things, all the properties of that columns are being defined over here. As in, client name should be there, and the string should be 50. The size we are defining and should be unique. So we are giving the true. Then the website URL, it's important or not important. So we will also we can also put the primary key, make a primary key or not a primary key. So that is not important. So that's why the primary key is not there. So these are the details of the client which we are maintaining, and also we are having several associations. So why we are creating the associations? Because we don't want to mess up data in a single table. We want a separate table for our client categories and the addresses. As you know, address hold its own different columns. Like pin code, it has to be and then you want the house number to be separated from the colony name. So these are the address categories. The states, where the state is, where the country belongs. So these are the address holds a very long number of columns, and if we implement that in the client table only, then it will be making very mess up. Like it won't be a clear or understandable, and many other columns will go null. So that's why we are having an association where the client ID can be linked up with the client address, like client master table we have made. So we can associate it with the IDs, so that IDs can correlate with them, and the data can be fetched. So we are making the association for that. In the same way, the stakeholders models also we are doing that. We are making the stakeholders all the details. We are saving the whatever details we want from the stakeholders. We are making particular column and deciding the properties, and then we are forming the association, like giving the stake by the help of the stakeholder ID, and with the help of the master tables, like stakeholder type association is there. So that is also linked with the stakeholder type master. Like master table, we will there about the stakeholder types, the categories, the address, like client address will be different than the stakeholder address, so we need a different master table for it. So the contact will be different, the email address, and the designation of the stakeholders. So all this information which are not we are not putting into a single table to avoid the redundancy of the data, like duplication of the data should not be there. So for that, and for not making it long or a very massive one, so we are dividing and making it easier to understand. So these, for these purposes, the database association are being created and the tables are being created. Can you move to the next slide? Yes. So over here you can see the master tables, the tables which with which we are creating the association. So it also contains an ID. Like if you create a stakeholder, a new stakeholder, if you are going to add, then there will be a new creation of the designation master also. That if the particular designation is not stored earlier, then a ID will be ID will be generated to the designation master also, and that particular designation will be saved over here. So and the master table can link to the stakeholder table. So for these purposes these tables are, so stakeholder category master is there. Whatever the categories are being associated with are put over here, and the date time is also mentioned, that at what date and what time this data got into the system. Then we are having the type master, that what type of stakeholder this is an external or it is an internal type of a stakeholder. Then we are having a detail master models, like address, what is your address of that particular client, or what is the address of that particular stakeholder. So like this we have created our databases. uh, Thank you. For next yeah, from here my teammate will be explaining.
Yeah, thank you, Swati. So in the controller file, we'll have the two controller files, like client controller and stakeholder controller. As we have features of for both clients and stakeholder, we have created the two files for controlling those tables in the PostgreSQL. So we have this client controller and the stakeholder controller, and we have created APIs in the client. The client related APIs are monitored here on the client controller, and the stakeholder related APIs will be monitored here. So here in the client controller, we have implemented APIs. Get client by ID, add client API, view clients API, like internal stakeholder by ID, and add stakeholder by ID. So we have created a class like edit stakeholder, and a docstring will be present. So here we have created the post method. So this as we are going to edit a stakeholder, so with the ID. So we are going to create a post method in the this will this we are going to here taking the request.json. So this data is taken from the Swagger. We the data the data in the Swagger is represented as a dictionary format, and when we request by using the request.json, we can fetch those data, and this data will be pass it to the edit stakeholder by ID function, which is in the service folder. In the service folder, by taking those data, by using the queries, and we will insert those data into the bit database. So similarly, we will have the get method as well. In the get method, we will take the ID, and based on the ID, we will call the function called v internal stakeholder by ID from another service file by passing the ID. So after passing that ID, we will get the details of the stakeholder by with the ID selected. So it's like a platform to operate the service and model files, and it will monitor the functions that needs to execute, and so based upon the things that we have written here, and those things will be executed, and that will be provided, and the output will be provided in the Swagger. So it is similar, like as the it is similar to the stakeholder and the clients as well. So for the sometimes we use the for editing the client ID, we use the get and post APIs, and sometimes we use the only post API. And also we have used the same API for we have used it one API for two features. So these are the things we have done in the client controller and the stakeholder controller. And coming to the services, my teammate will explain you about these services.
Thank you, Nitin. In services is nothing but the functionalities. The recently that Nitin said that API is calling some functions. So that function we have written in the services packages. So in the services packages, there is a two types of modules. That one is for the client services, and second one is for the stakeholder services. In the client services, we have different services like creating a new client, get the client information, edit a client. That's these services are related to the client. That's why we have created that service. We have called as the service client services. So in the client service, we have done the backend functionalities and backend process to collect the data and all things. So in the get client details, in this function, we have just getting the information of that client by using the client ID, and we are passing by firstly we have executing that query, and we are getting all the information from our database, and we are passing to it. After the execution, we are taking that information in the client data object, and after that we are sort it and make it as a one dictionary. And as of we know, and Nitin said we are passing data in the form of JSON format. So we are making as the Python dictionary, and we are passing the data to the front end as like that. In the stakeholder services, same that a view internal stakeholder by ID. This is the stakeholder service. So for that we have executing one query to get all the stakeholder information, and we are passing that information to the front end. And same as there we are making that a dictionary to pass the data to front end. Please go to the next slide. DTO. There is another module that is a DTO. A DTO means a data transfer object. So to transferring the data from front end to back end and back end to front end, we are created the data transfer objects for different for client data transfer object for client to information, and another is a stakeholder data transfer object for stakeholder information. So first of this, in this picture, there is a client details object we have created. So in that object, we have getting the information, that client name, website URL, that activity status, that then image URL, image name, description of that client, address, uh, zip code, and city, state, country, and category name. So all this the information we are passing to front end to backend at the time of creating new client. Like that, so there is another object that is a get client by id. So at the time of we are getting the client information to edit the client. So at that time we want the previous information which is stored in our system. So for that we have created this data transfer object. So in this object we are taking the that client id, client name, and all that information previously we have passed in client details data transfer object. So we are using this object for get method as well as at the time of editing the client. So for that post method also. And like the same in a stakeholder data transfer object, we have created same. We are taking the same informations in that object also. Nitin, please go to the next slide. Next slide is take over to my teammate.
Yes, thank you, Vaibhav. So I like to tell what the design pattern that we have taken, that is the OOPS concept. So all this model API that it previously explained by my teammates, the first model is the API. The first for the screenshot that we have taken, that is for the API, and the second one, as you can see, it's the model. So I'd like to take some time in here and explain you why this approach, why not a standard, why not another approach. It makes as we all know, most of the project that we build has to be modular based and it has to be integrated at the later. We all follow the agile principle. So to make that agile principle and to follow that agile iteration, to approach with the client, making the constant change in the requirement, making the constant change in the code. So the OOPS design is the best design that we can follow, where all the code, all the modularity, all the database model creation, all the API creation can be made in such a manner that whenever the client makes some changes, so the changes to the one particular code or to the UI or UX team also, it makes our life very simple. To be honest, it makes our life very simple, so that there won't be any fuss with the testing team also, neither the fuss with the coding team also, and the developer team, where all the code is been shared with each and everything, and each and every person is making the use of each and every model creation they are developing. So where class, their functionalities, their in the class, their definition, what we have mainly written in the services, as we all saw, may all the functionalities uh, can for the client and the stakeholder could have been written in the in one single file, but the modularity that we have created using the object orientation, it made the API creation also very easy. uh, this is why the OOPS design is very much important, and this is the design that we have followed. Nitin, can you go to the next slide? Yes. So the main part, what we actually did in the project, we created the APIs microservices that uses MVC architecture. Uh, we all we the previous thing what we saw was the client, the controller, the DTOs, and the model creation. This was the MVC architecture, and based on that only all these APIs, what we call as microservices, is being built. So what is MVC is a simple thing like model, view, controller. The name itself, the model is the database, view is where all the functionality is written, and the controller is where all the controlling of this functionality is been done. So this API is the controller that we have written in here, and this is where all that controlling of the project, the flow and everything is maintained here. So I'll just explain one or two APIs in here, and further we have the demo, so all of the APIs will be explained. So to get the if we take the first API in here, that is get client ID API. So we all saw that the client detail is been taken in here, and we are getting each and every detail of the client from the database, which is being put into the database from the front from the UI from the front end team where the data has been collected from them, and it has been stored into the database. So what if you have to view any client by their particular name or anything? So what we have done is we have just taken the id of as we all know that the if we have database, there might be some primary key. So the primary key in here is the id, and by that id all the records for that particular client can be fetched. So you can see that the id is used as a parameter over here to identify the client, and we are just creating the class in here so that each and every functionality can be done. So resource is just nothing but the Flask API what we have done. So we have just taken the documentation also that to make understand for the other developer also. And marshal with is to get marshal with is the functionality in the API function RESTful API, where each and every detail of the client can be fetched from the database. So marshal with helps in that. And the get function is what we all know, that we have to get the database. So if we have to put something into a database, that is a post function. So what we are doing is we are taking the user, we are calling it by the id from the database. That if you go to the get client details, so there is the services that is a service that has been written in the service.py file, where all the functionalities of the get client are details, where all the querying is being done. And if that user is not present also, then also it will give that uh, status code that is 404, that is error not found. So this is one of the apis. And the as the previously Swati explained, my teammate, there are 14 features, like add a client, get a client by id, add a stakeholder, get a client by stakeholder, edit, view all. So there's all these 14 features has this one api associated with each other. So that is how these RESTful APIs were developed, and this is the process that we have taken. Nitin, can you go to the next slide? Yes. So these are the features and everything which will be explained by my teammate.
Thank you, Suhas. Previously, Nitin has said and Suhas has said there is a 14 features and there is a 14 different APIs we have implemented for that 14 features. So for that different features we have implemented different APIs. So for that different APIs, there is a different URLs we have created for that. So like a view all clients. So for view of clients, there is a client view client. So this application previously we have execute on our local system. So that's why it's taking localhost, and then we are using that URL to get into that API. For that API, we have create this URL. So there is a 14 APIs. In that, 10 is the get API methods and 4 is the post API methods. In the post methods, we have transferring the information from front end to back end. So that's why we have created a post method. So in the post method, there is a client, edit by client, add new stakeholder as client, edit a stakeholder by ID. These APIs we have post APIs. So for that APIs, there is a different URLs in here, and there is a 10 get APIs we have created to get the information from back end to front end. Go to the next slide, Nitin. In the Swagger. Me and my teammates build these different Swaggers for different that APIs. So we have implement APIs as the dividing some that APIs to each of the team members. So as of SUAS is implemented client category and all things that APIs which is built by the SUAS. Then it right top Nitin has implemented to edit stakeholder information, get the stakeholder by ID. These many features is implemented by Nitin. In bottom left side, there Swati is implemented to get the stakeholder information, that external stakeholder information, get internal stakeholder information, that all the like APIs and functions is done by the Swati. Here, where me, I have done that edit a client information and the create a new stakeholder and get the stakeholder category. These are all features which is implemented by me. Next slide, please. Next slide is taken over to my email.
Thank you, Vaibhav, for this explanation. So here we are having ORM. So what ORM stand for? It's a object relational mapping. So object relational mapping, why we do this mappings and all. So it's basically for mapping your data. So whatever data is coming from the database and whatever data we are sending, it needs to be mapped like whatever the requirement database columns are holding. Like if suppose your zip code requires a requirement, okay, it has to be there, then you have to map that data, right? If the data is not coming, then you have to communicate that okay, this data is not there, so we can't map it, so there has to be some error. So for that we are just mapping the data. So for data mapping, over here you can see that we are also using the exceptions, that we want to try this first, the get category id by name, and if it's not happening, then if it's going into the exception, then we are implementing that okay, we are writing this query and we need this particular data. So for as you can see in this particular query, this query is not a normal query. We are having so many association. We need to make a join. For join this association with this particular query, we have to use the join. So through this join we are connecting to the master tables. Like we need this stakeholder, we are having this stakeholder id. Now through this id we know that there is an association with the category association, stakeholder category association. We can, through this association, we can connect to the master table and get the information. So for that purposes we are executing this particular query to get the data, different columns data into a single query. We are having different tables data, we are gathering it data, and then we are storing it. Like you can see that we have established a connection with the database, and then we are executing the query. And if the query requires an external output, like you can see the format id, it requires the id, so we are giving the id over here. So if you want, okay, this particular id will be having only one single row of information, that it is very clear to us, then we are implementing fetch one. Okay, we want only one. Okay, now what we want to do, this data as we are having, and we want to upgrade it or update it. So for updating we have both certain queries, that this is the new information, and just put it into the your database. Okay, you have to store this, you have to make some changes. So for this purposes, if this particular block is being executed, then we are just closing the connection to our database, and we are responding okay, the status is success, that you have stored this new data successfully, and the message will be displayed. So and if it's not happening, then also we are also having the response, and particular things are being done below. As you can see, the functions are being implemented in particular this class, like get the email id by name. So this is a name, just get the fetch the email id. So these are the particular functions are written to help this our query. So this much for the mapping. As you can see, we have also having the DTO for mapping the datas with the front end and the back end. So the mapping about the database ends here, and the next slide will be explained by my teammate.
Thank you, Swati. Previously, as if I say, like in the that search engine, we have used PostgreSQL. So in this application also for the database, we have used PostgreSQL. So in this PostgreSQL, we have created client database, and in this database, there is a different 19 tables. So in the tables, that client and stakeholder, these are the main tables to collecting the client information and stakeholder information. So client table is collecting the all information that is mostly related to the clients, and that save in that database. Like that, also we have taking stakeholder information and collecting it in that stakeholder table. So, but there is some master tables and some ASOC tables also to creating the different connection between the client and addresses, because to reduce the duplicacy of the data. So there is a different that master table, that is a category master table, then stakeholder category master, then stakeholder designation master, stakeholder type master. These are the master data. So it's previously defined by the creator. So, and there is a ASOC tables to making the relation between client and that client address. We have create one table, that is a client address ASOC table. So these tables we are creating to manage our addresses, our phone numbers, and uh, that email address with the stakeholder and clients. Go to the next slide. Next slide is take over to my teammate.
Yeah. So before getting to the next slide, be, just the demo is left and the Git repository is been there. So before that, I would be very happy to tell you that we were given some particular deadline, and we were given some particular hours to finish all of this, and we were very happy to tell you that we did mostly in half of the time. The time estimation and the time effort, it was just a half what we have done, and we have implemented all of this in the half of the time that we have given. Kudos to all the team members and to everyone. So this is the Git repository that we were using, the GitLab, where all the branching, merging, the integration, everything was through done through Git repository. So this Git repository was is given to access to all the four members and the BA team and UI UX team, including the team lead and the architect V4. So this was the Git repository that we had, and let's see what all the demos that we have, and we'd like to give you what we have worked through. Nitin, can you stop sharing the screen so that I can share?
Oh yes, so
Yeah.
go ahead, Suhas.
Yeah. So yes, so to we were currently this is a local system, so we are running in here, and through the VS Code, as we explained the technological stack, all the raw code has been written in the VS Code, and through VS Code I'm running it, and I'm accessing this particular Swagger in here, where all our APIs are associated. To coming to my features, so I did the client to get the client category ID. So this was my part in the client. So let's see how to post a particular client into the database. So we are running it, and I'm just giving out my name. So as we were talking, the clients are the companies associated in here. So this is for the just the demo, so I don't have any URL, so I'll be just citing the URL in here. So I'm the active member with that particular association, that is with the Andy Cunningham, for Andy Cunningham, and associated with this as you image URL. We told why it is not there in the database, what will you store. So for that, we are using actually there is an implementation of the Microsoft Azure, where all the implementation of the image URL and the URL, the image name is been stored in there. So based on that, everything will be filled in here. For the description, I'll just give it as what can just to explain this. So I'll not reveal my address, so I'll just give it as string one 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 and just one for the implementation. As it was explained before, the category name was an master table. So as we all saw that it was an drop down list, so it was having all the data present in itself. So this is one of the drop down list what we have, and we can see that the status, it actually successfully entered into the client and the client was created. So let's jump into the database, and we can if I just view the database in here, we can see that it is being directly stored in here. So this was the name that I created, the Suhas, and all the data in here is been stored. So we can see that so it is not updated yet. So that is why the updation name is not there yet. So this was my first API that I've built. And the next was, we also, as I have told here, that the category name has to be it was a master table, and it was a uh, fixed string number of rows that we have implemented, as it was in a drop down list. So it is a necessary part that how many categories are actually present in the drop down list. So for that, so this is the get API. So as soon as I just give try it out, and I give execute, for now there is only I'll show you the category table also what I have. So just for the demo purpose, so there is only one category name in here, which is the name by animation, and we can check it out that animation is the category, only category that is present, and it has been showcased in here. uh, so these were my two APIs that were been created in the client section. And coming to the stakeholder, so in stakeholder, my uh, what we call it as, there were two types of stakeholder. One was external, internal, and each and every client was associated with that particular stakeholder, right? So as it was explained before, that each and every stakeholder, which external or internal, they have to be assigned based on their work with their client. So either for the workshops, either for the interview, and so on. So how many for that particular client? So if I come in the database, and if I just give it out client, so this is my client, so its ID is 2. So for 2, how many stakeholders are actually associated? If I just check, I think I haven't posted anything for that. Yeah, so if I come here and execute for the one which is already associated with that, so you can see the ID 3. So ID 3 is nothing but the stakeholder ID which is there, and everything is been showcased in here. So this was my demo and the API that I have built. So let's see what my teammates has to showcase to you. So I'll just stop sharing my screen so that others can share.
Thank you, Suhas. I will be showcasing my part. I'm just sharing my screen. Let me know if it's visible. Hello. Is
No,
it
no.
visible?
Yes, Swati.
Okay, okay.
So team, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we need to hurry. I think we have passed the duration that we gave initially. So let's keep the demos to short, and we have just implemented. Let's show to them. Yeah, team.
Okay, okay. So what was my implementation was a get client by ID. So what we have to do, if we want a particular client, then we want something unique. So what we can give is the ID of that particular client, and then we can execute and get the details of that particular client. So whatever details of that particular client ID, client name, and the website links, and everything is being stored like the category name. So this was the get client by ID. So the next task was in my stakeholder was to view all the stakeholders, like to get the category of the stakeholders. So for that purpose, when I executed it, so I am getting all the stakeholder categories. As you can see, if it belongs to a C-shoot management, employees, or a customer or a partner, what kind of a stakeholder it is. So every category will be mentioned over here. Uh, Now the next we want, as we talked about the internal and external, so we want to view all the internal stakeholders. So for that also, I wrote this code. So as you can see, I have one one internal stakeholder store, and the type name is internal only, and the resignation name and all the details, as the address is not there and all the rest of the details are there. So this is the basic difference between the internal and external stakeholders. So these are the information for that. And then one more was that to view internal stakeholder by id. So by giving the id you can view that internal stakeholder. So for that also I executed this code and I got the details. So these were my execution as I wrote this code, the controller services and everything. And as you can see in this particular class, that we are getting the we wrote the class that get client. And then over here you can see from the services dot client service, we're importing get client by id. So the concept of packages, and then we're accessing the classes. So for by that only we are passing in that particular class, we are passing the id and we are getting the result. And if result is null, that we are not getting anything, it will be the error. And then if it's not null, then we will getting the user details. In the same way, the other apis I have executed other features. And as you can see, I told about the stakeholder category name, so all the details are being stored in my database. So this was by me, and the next will be continued by my teammate. Thank you. I will be stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Swati. Now I'm going to share my screen. My screen is visible to all.
Yes, Vaibhav, go on.
In this application, my responsibility to create the APIs for the edit client by using ID. And for that, I have created two APIs. That one is the post API and one is the get API to get the information from database. And for get the information, we are passing here ID. So for example, I have passing one. After executing, we are getting the information of client ID one, which has the client name is a Zezar. All that information which is present in our database is here. So after the executing get API, we are getting all information on the front end. So and to edit this information, we want to edit this many information. So for that, I have implemented this post method. So previously in our database, these many information is there. So now I want to change this information. And edit the previous data. So previously that all information of that Pune uh, campus, but now I'm edit it to that Bangalore campus. For that, I just show you that previous information present in the system in the database. Uh, this is a client information and that client address. In the address master, there is previous address is Kharadi that has a Pune campus. So now I want to change that address. So I have just changed that information, and after that, we need to pass that ID also. after the execution, we get
Yeah, no problem, Vaibhav. We can just keep on explaining. I think we'll understand it.
after after executing this API, it's successfully editing that all information in the backend. So there is another two APIs for stakeholder. That one is for creating a stakeholder. So now I am creating new stakeholder. So for that we are creating new stakeholder. Like for example, I have created Vaibhav. Giving some information that email URL we are using as for example string one. Type, name, designation master, and stakeholder category. These three are the master tables, so that all the data, that all the categories is present already in the system. That is a type name, stakeholder type, holder category name, that designations, and that stakeholder category also. We are creating external stakeholder, then we are passing that primary phone number and mail address also. We want to take a stack.
Vaibhav, yeah, it's getting late. Can I?
Nitin, give me
Let
just
me finish
few
off.
minutes.
Is it? Just finish
Yes,
this
that
API.
is.
We are just passing sensor, and we want to pass that client ID. After executing, it shows that successfully stakeholder is added in our database. Uh, so in the stakeholder, that new Weibo stakeholder is added successfully. There is a one API to get a designation. So we are saying in the uh, front end, there is a pop-up option to select the designations. So after executing this API, it's showing how many designations present in our master table. So that is CEO and CTO is already present in our database. So these are all APIs which is created by me. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Vaibhav. So I have it features. One is view all clients and get edit stakeholder by ID and view stakeholder by ID. And so this will give this get API of view clients will give you the view all clients. I have executed it and it will give the 5 and
Nitin,
6 month. Yes, Swans.
give it a pause. I think your screen is still blank. Yeah, now it's visible. You can carry on.
Yeah. So this I have executed this one. This will give you the all clients that are present in the database with the ID 5 and 6. And each stakeholder by, I would like to say a few things here. Here we have the type name here. If it is external, internal, there will be two things here. It is going to be done. If it is internal, the data, the tables that are created will be deleted. If it is external, the data, the tables which the address fields will be activated there. So I have written these if conditions like if it is internal, create the address fields. Delete those address fields. If it is external, then create those external fields. In this way, it will the details will be getting updated, and the getting under this get a stakeholder by ID. I have this. I have implemented here. So here I have given the client ID, and it will be it's showing the stakeholders presented for the client ID. Like these are the stakeholders that are presented for the particular client ID that is given. So these are the three APIs that I have created. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Nitin, can you share the presentation? Yeah. Go to the slide 43.
So this is our team which we have created those APIs, and I feel very blessed to have to be part of this team.
Yeah, I think Nitin, your shared screen is stuck.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So this was our team, and we implemented this project together. And it's very blessing to have such a great team and such a great training team, which helped to execute such a beautiful project. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And I know my teammates also wants to say something. Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, sorry for the delay that we took so much time for the presentation. I just like to tell that I like to thank the three person that throughout the journey helped me. One was Abhishek sir, one is Shashank sir, who taught us very beautifully all these things, and the mastermind, that is KK sir, who took all the charge. Yeah, uh, for us, Shashank sir and Abhishek sir was the front end, but all the handling and the everything was done by KK sir. So so deep appreciation for all these three members that we had.
Yes, of course, the KK sir helps us so much. Like we didn't know that we could have implemented such a huge project, and the first project and second project, and we didn't know our capabilities till he just pushed us and made us make this, and we get to knew our capabilities. That yes, we are a good programmers. Thank you so much.
Yes, Swati. After this training, we are very, very happy. We know we are the programmers, and we are very happy with this training session. And this was very good. Thank you, these all trainers and KK sir to motivate us. And
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. Of course, it's a long presentation, but glad to see the kind of output all of you have given. The amount of output, I should say, is pretty huge. Just about 4 to 5 weeks time, and to do 2 projects, several case studies. It was fascinating, and I think all of you have put in a lot of effort, and the results are there for you to see. So congratulations on a wonderful program, and I wish you guys the very best. Your journey is just beginning. Your life has just begun, and I wish rather, not hope. I definitely am sure that you guys will perform well. I wish all of you great success and progress in Zenser. I would like each and every one of you to perform really well, and your manager should call back and say, hey, this team is like fantastic. they're performing extremely well. That's what we'd like to hear, and my best wishes all of you.
Yes, sir. We will promise you that, sir. Definitely.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.